Well, hello DevOps people. I'm Jochen and welcome to my live coding stream here on Twitch. As always, if there is anything you'd like to ask, to comment on, then go ahead and jump in the chat. I'll be monitoring it and responding as quickly as I can. In my session on Tuesday, I tried to integrate our private Chef Cookbook repository in a way that when we make changes to cookbooks we have open sourced, the CI system will automatically update the public repository of that cookbook. And I almost got it done during the stream. In the end, I struggled with permissions, and I'm happy to report that I was able to resolve them. The solution was pretty simple. I already had set up a dedicated access token that should have, well, that had enabled CwJ to write to update the target repository. However, I made the mistake of entering the wrong target URL, and I'll show you what I mean. Here in the cookbooks.export repository file, I had the SSH URL of the NSDX repository, and the GitHub access tokens simply don't apply to SSH URLs. Well, quite obviously, but not to me, because you need an SSH key to access via SSH. As soon as I had replaced the URL with a HTTP URL, everything worked fine, and I'm happy to report that my first test export of the NSDX cookbook was successful. I pushed a new tag, which I'll have to clean up, I just remember. And CwJ automatically extracted the cookbook from our private repository and pushed everything into our public repository. And yeah, I'm quite happy that this works now, because it allows me to go another step and actually tackle the topic of testing chef cookbooks in CI, in this particular case in CwJ. Before I do that, let me just do some cleanup. Because during my testing I had to create quite a bunch of tags here, and so let's see if I can grab NSDX v101 and then an actual, well, A to Z should do the trick. Yep. And then I read this. Read. I call it V tag. And git tag, well, how does it work actually? Git tag. How do I remove it? -D $v tag, and then we'll have to delete it on the server as well. Git push origin and then colon v tag. So the first git command will remove the local tag, and the second git push command will delete the tag in our central repository on GitHub. Yeah, I think that will work. Oh, looking good. After all, one thing I'd like to transfer via this stream is always clean up after yourself. It's basically a corollary of the general coding rule. Always code as if the person that has to maintain your code is a psychopath that knows where you live, that knows who knows where you live. Okie dokie, that's that. So let's go right ahead and take a look at testing cookbooks. Chef cookbooks are basically Ruby code, but for server infrastructure. And so they allow test-driven development. And we can keep using the NSDX cookbook, I guess, as an example. So the test setup for Chef is stored in a kitchen YAML file, because the tool that Chef uses to test cookbooks is named Test Kitchen. So we have in this instance two kitchen files. Kitchen.yaml is the general one, and then we have another one, kitchen.docken.yaml, that uses a different driver. So generally we use kitchen YAML with Vagrant, which creates actual virtual machines, virtual Linux machines where the tests are run. And to have a bit more lightweight test infrastructure, we have also the kitchen Docken driver, which uses Docker to run tests. The requirements are much lower for this, both in terms of capacity as well as in tooling. You don't need Vagrant, you don't need VirtualBox, all you need is Docker, and then you can run this. And obviously this Docken configuration will also be the one that we'll be using for CI, because I can't spin up complete VMs on Travis CI, but I can use Docker containers to run my tests. So if I switch my kitchen YAML environment variable to the Docker configuration, I can do kitchen list, which will show me all the test suites that are configured for this cookbook. In this particular case, we have a test suite that is named default and another one that is named databag, and they both run on a single platform named Ubuntu 16, which of course is Ubuntu 16.04. So we are only planning to use this cookbook on Ubuntu 16, obviously. And if I run kitchen test, which I won't do now because for time reasons, it'll actually spin up first this container, run all the tests, and then it'll spin up this test suite container in a different one and run these tests too, and I'll see if the tests are successful, which they should be. Now, how do we run this on a CI system? It shouldn't be too complicated because many people already use Travis CI to test their cookbooks. And I'll just pick a random one. So let's see what we can find. Chef community cookbooks. Lots of repositories. Oh, that's by the company chef themselves. But here we have a chef cookbook for Docker, for example. That would be an interesting use case, actually. And they have a travis.yaml. And it doesn't look too complicated, to be honest. The main thing that springs to the eye is that they have a big test matrix, because obviously they try and run this on as many different Linux platforms as possible. They use a few add-ons, Chef Current Trusty and package Chef DK that gets automatically installed. They only run tests on master. They use Docker as the CI service here. That's the only service that needs to be running, no databases or something else that you need with a web application, for example. And in the before script they install IP tables. No, they don't install IP tables, they set up a chain named Docker, because that's obvious, that's probably necessary. Then they run chef shell init bash, provided that the chef DK package has already been installed. Then they run chef version, cook style version, food critic version, just to see if they are running on the right version, I guess. And here we have the central information, which is the test script, where they run kitchen verify and then the instance of the testing matrix. And I don't think we... Okay, in this case they are kitchen instances. Okay. So I could ignore this part and run kitchen test, and that should do the trick as well. And here's another matrix. Include script chef exec delivery local all. Not sure what that does. Okay. Well, I think I can use this as a template. I'll open this in another browser window and let me see if, for example, the PHP cookbook looks significantly different. No, it all seems to follow the same pattern. Actually, it's more or less identical. In this case, they also do the environment variable setup that I did manually here. So they set the kitchen local YAML environment variable before they run kitchen verify, and then the instance. I wonder if it would be of any use to have this list of instances, because that might make it possible to only run a certain set of test suites in CI and leave out others. However, it requires you to basically repeat the same information that you have already in your kitchen YAML file, where there are the different platforms, Debian 8, Debian 9, CentOS 6, 7, etc., etc., and actually they don't have any suites defined here, so I guess it'll just use the default suite, and that should be reflected in here. Oh, it's named resource test, and then okay. Why is it called resource test? Let me see. Verifier, lots of platforms. Huh, interesting. I'm not sure where the resource test part comes from. Yeah, okay. So let's simply start with a basic setup and a branch. As always, I'll create a GitHub issue for our Chef Cookbooks repository. And if only for me to remember that there are still changes that need to be merged. Many of my previous streams have resulted in stuff that I even pushed to the repository but never merged, so that will require another cleanup round. Basically run tests on Travis CI. As a prerequisite for automatically deploying Chef Cookbooks to our Chef server. We should at least run a basic test suite in CI. I'll assign this issue to myself and add the testing tag, because that's the general area this affects, which gives us issue 235. Okie dokie. And this lets us start working on this. We already have a Travis YAML file, however it's not visible. Why doesn't VI show me the file? Oh, it can't because still. Well, okay. I can always be a bit more explicit. So that's what we are having so far, and as you can see, the script part is basically a no op, just an echo command. So it's time to run a few more things. I guess I can remove the language Ruby here because we're not actually doing pure Ruby. Let's simply take the stuff that is in the other file. The distribution in this case is trusty, and that's an interesting thing Hey Daft Kid, how you doing? Happy to have you on the stream. Could you please say what music Aro is playing on background during your streams? Yeah, I'm happy to. So what I'm using is a service and their app. They are both named Pretzel. The URL is pretzel.rocks. And they provide different music streams for streamers. In this case, I simply select the ambient station because I don't want the music to be too obtrusive, and let it play at the lowest possible volume, I guess. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it so far. But your question reminds me, I could add the Pretzel extension to my streaming page, so you could actually see the song titles that are playing. So at the moment we have Creative Anthem by Abstraction. Let me just pull this onto the screen here as well. And so that's how it looks. It's a nice little player. I'm playing at 2% volume. And I can even say, okay, I don't really like this song. Please don't play it again. Okay, where is my Travis file? Back to here. So the distribution selection here is actually a bit of a tricky thing. Obviously I can't... Of course I can. They use Trusty as their host environment, but nothing keeps them from running different Linux distributions, including Ubuntu 16, inside the containers. So yeah, I won't let that distract me. So let's simply use this. Then we'll need the add-ons to get ChefDK installed. Chef current trusty. Please. Oh dear, I still have to get used to my new keyboard. Pretty happy with it, but it's an Ergo keyboard and I'm still not completely used to its layout. Even though I have been using Ergo keyboards for quite a while. My first Ergo keyboard was a Cherry split keyboard that still had the DIN plug, not a PS2 plug, and not nearly a USB connection. Back in the day. I see, so they actually do a custom install step here to prevent Travis from automatically running bundle install. Yeah, I see. Probably they have a gem file. Yeah, they have a gem file here to enable tests with bundle exec. And Travis will see that gem file and automatically run bundle install. And I don't need that because it takes ages. Okay, so we have this before install step, which we need to deploy our CI user token for GitHub. Then we have install, echo skip bundle install. Then we'll have to define the branches. Actually, at the moment I'll leave that out because I want to deploy to run this from my testing branch here. Later I'll probably limit testing to the master branch or even to commits that are tagged, but we'll see. So no install step, and the only service we need is Docker. I'll skip this matrix part here. Then before we run the script, we need a pre-flight thing to do a few preparation. Oops. Do a few preparation things. And as script, I'll simply run kitchen test. And I'll keep the deploy section here that does the export, which I built in the previous 2 sessions. And we'll add another deploy step here at a later time when tests are successful, then upload the new cookbook version automatically to our chef server, so we can leave this manual step out in the future. But let's first see this running. I only changed the Travis YAML file. I'll commit this. Sorry. Run test kitchen in CI. Later I'll probably run a rake job like rake CI or something, because additional to kitchen I'd like to run a linter like Rubocop or a chef linter like Food Critic. But yeah, as I said, baby steps. Run test kitchen in CI. And we could simply say resolves number 235. Okay, we're good, so git push. Now let's go to Travis. I already have a job running here. However, it is not my own. That's another push that just happened to happen here by one of my colleagues. Here we go. This is my job. Shout out to my colleague Marcus, by the way. Congratulations on your cameo appearance on the stream. Oh, it's Slayer. Hey, how you doing, bud? Another lunch break project. I'm happy to hear about it. Tell me all about it. Hosts sorter. Let me see. Oh yeah, sorry, it opened in my dashboard Chrome here. I think if I read it correctly, and I am not even a Python programmer, it does sort your Etsy host file. Why do you need a sorted host file? Well, it makes things easier to find, doesn't it? So kitchen test doesn't run because it says, oh yeah, kitchen YAML file chefcookbooks.kitchen.yaml does not exist, of course. And it even would take the kitchen YAML file with the vagrant configuration, which we can't use anyway. So, yes, it makes it much easier to find my local domains. Yeah, it does. You're right. If your host file is a bit long, having it sorted makes it easier to find things and makes it harder to enter duplicate information. Okay, so yeah, I think I need to rely on tags here because at least at the moment I want to have an easy way to tell Travis which cookbook of the many we have in here it should test, and I guess that tags are the most straightforward way to do this. Later I intend to actually parse recent changes to see which cookbook had been touched, but that might turn out a bit more tricky, so for the time being I'll rely on tags for this. And your Python script removes duplicates as well, which is nice. Yeah, it is. I like these cleanup scripts that make sure that there is no cruft in important system files. I'm planning to build a command line snake game in Python as my next lunch break project at work. That sounds like fun. Yeah, I guess there should be plenty of libraries like curses or something like that that you can use to run such a game in the terminal. Ah, the good old school games. I always liked them. Okay, so I guess we'll have to add another constraint here. Not sure if it's nested under script actually, so let's pull out the Travis CI documentation. Where does the on tag true constraint need to be? Customizing your build. Limiting, no, not concurrent jobs. Customizing the build step. That's only the script command. Building specific branches. That's not it. I find it a bit hard to find stuff on the Travis CI documentation, to be honest. And the search doesn't give me this as well. Okay, let's resort to Google. Travis build. Oh, sorry. Travis build. Oh, come on. Build tag. You know, you can play Tetris, Snake, and Pong by default in Emacs. Yeah, I know. I had been using Emacs for years as my default editor. Used it for RSS reading, for email. Not sure if I had an IRC client in there. Never spent much time playing, to be honest, but it's mind-boggling what is inside Emacs. Maybe I could build a game in Vim script. I noticed that people have already made Snake and Tetris in Vim script. That's another possibility, because an editor where you need to position stuff like a cursor and things could be a nice framework to build some kind of game, because all the principal stuff is already in there. Now let me see. Deployment. Can I trigger trace a bit my app by creating how to build only pushed tags? Well, I think that'll get me in the right direction. Conditional builds. Oh, that's a beta feature. That's why I didn't find it. Okay. Conditional builds. You can filter out and reject build stations and jobs by specifying conditions. If branch, if tag. I can also make the deploy stage conditional. So I'll simply add if tag matches and then just regis. Okay, so tag matches some name. Hyphen the and then a version literal. Feels a bit weird to me, but yeah, I'll give it a try. So with this change, Travis should start a job and then abort it right away. I found a Vim file somewhere. Someone wrote 8 years ago for sending email. I've got it. I will build an email reader and Vim script. Oh, what have I done? With the option of downloading any attachments. That way I will never have to use Thunderbird ever again. Well, yeah, I can understand the notion, but there are already pretty good alternatives to Thunderbird, I guess. Even if it's just... oh, wait, yeah, you're not running Mac, but Postbox on the Mac is built, I think, using Thunderbird as a base. And yeah, it's a decent mail client. So let's see. No jobs running? Why isn't there a job running? There should be a job running. Come on, Travis. Don't leave me hanging. Yeah, and on a serious note, building your own email client will probably be a bag of hurt, because email is the worst specified thing in the world, with all the exceptions and stuff. SMTP, IMAP are all much too old to be of a good quality, and since they always try to stay compatible with previous approaches, they come with a lot of baggage. Postbox says for Mac and PC on their website. Yeah, this could very well be. Haven't used a PC in, I can't say decades now, yeah. I would love another CI job to spawn. Come on. I was just planning to call my email provider's REST API and get the emails that way. Well, yeah, okay. That's actually not a bad idea. These REST APIs are probably better than the original protocols by orders of magnitude, where you can simply call a REST call, list me all my emails, and then pick the ones that you'd like to have. Yeah, even I would consider building something like that. Okay, so Rackspace do offer their own email service. Okay. Tends to have pretty solid APIs. Yeah, the people at Rackspace seem to know their stuff. And they have been in the game long enough to know how to build these things. Why you know CI, Travis? My push did go through, did it? Yep. Okay. What? The request was rejected? Why? Oh! Oh, it actually says skipped as per condition. So they check this condition as a pre-flight check. Okay, so it's working as intended, actually. Okay. Nice. So let's do a tag, git tag CI1. Git push origin CI1. Oh, which doesn't match the widget I entered. So let's go and remove this right away. Git push origin CA1. And git tag NSDX V. Let's just use this so we don't confuse it with actual version names. Git push origin NSDX V01. That should satisfy the regular expression, and it actually starts a job. That's brilliant. Of course, we'll get the same unsuccessful run because it still doesn't know what to run, but now I should be able to extract the necessary information. I just need a shell script to do this, and I can copy this from my export shell script. So new file, CI test. And I can get the necessary changes from here. So what I'm going to do is cd src cookbook, and then I'll set my kitchen local YAML file, and then I run kitchen test. Or even, since we are using chefdk, chef exec kitchen test, which should have the same result, but be more precise. So that's that. As I've learned last time, these scripts need to be executable, so change mod a+x CI test. And obviously we need to change the script to bin CI test. And that also gives us this, the place where I can add additional test steps like food critic or Robocop. New tag. Since we're expected to dedicate 4 hours per week now to further learning, which is awesome, I think I will use the email reader project to count towards that. Yeah, that's great to have. To just pick a project that excites you and go for it. I've never found anything better than learning by doing. All right, so hopefully Travis doesn't ignore me here. I was just thinking about moving the constraint here into the bash script that I've just written, as I've done with the export cookbooks script down here. This cookbook checks actively if the Travis tag environment variable is set and simply exits if it isn't. However, having the constraint in the Travis YAML file is better because it will prevent a build from the start. So Travis doesn't even spin up a test container and just to run the script and for the script to exit. Okay. Actually, this is looking good. It already runs the kitchen test here. Yeah. If you have a question about Travis, nice. I'm looking at automating deployments for client sites at work that run on FTP SFTP servers. You could very well use a CI system like CwJ or Travis CI for that. You also could build the deployment yourself. However, having a CI service at your hand also enables you to run tests and things, of course. Maybe using Travis to watch the Bitbucket post commit webhook to do that. Yeah, Travis actually does that automatically as soon as you... oh, where's my tab? hello, here. As soon as you add a repository to Travis, as you can see at the moment I have 3 of our repositories in here, Travis starts watching these repositories, so it automatically integrates with GitHub, of course with your prior authorization, and as you don't even need this travis.yaml file, because by default Travis will then try to derive some kind of test setup from your repository. So it looks, is there a gem file in there? And if there is, it automatically spins up a Ruby environment or things like that. Of course, you'll probably need the Travis YAML file to be more specific. And then it will run whatever you need it to run. And you can also have a deploy step here with a test script before or not. That's up to you. And it could use some kind of FTP or SFTP command or script that will actually upload your web applications to your hosting company. And Travis also provides you with a secure way of providing the credentials that you need. So you need an FTP login or an SFTP key, and there are ways to do that. I did something similar in a previous session, if you recall. So that's a perfectly valid way to go about that. And yeah, the pricing is okay, I'd say. Let's see. So travis.org is the public open source way that you can use for free if you have a public project. It's mainly for open source projects. And travisci.com is the commercial side of things, and I think it starts at €49 per month or something like that, which is okay. CwJ has a free tier even for private repositories. However, at least until recently, they didn't provide the necessary infrastructure to run Chef and Test Kitchen on their platform. That might have changed. However, as you saw, I was able to easily copy some Travis CI file that was successful on my first try. So it's perfectly okay for me to pay for Travis. As otherwise, I was playing around last night at home with building an npm package that uploads files via FTP. I'll be blunt and say that's a bit of a NIH, not invented here syndrome, because there are plenty of solutions out there that you can use to upload things and synchronize to repositories or to directories via FTP or SFTP. I think even 20 years ago I used something like site copy. Oh dear, I wonder if that's still around. Site copy. Maintaining remote websites with site copy on Ubuntu 16, so it still seems to be current. However, its original homepage seems to have vanished. Yeah, but site copy does exactly what you need it to do. You can define a website and then access it via different protocols. Hey Nar003, hi, how you doing? Happy to have you on the stream. Slayer, you seem to be quite creative today. Alright, so, it actually was successful here. Now it ran the second test suite, which finished successfully as well. And okay, since I even had a tag set, it tried to deploy or export the cookbook, but since I haven't done any changes, it said nothing to commit, and push didn't make any changes, I guess. At least I hope so. Nice. So we have test kitchen on CwJ CI, I guess. So what's missing? Let me see. Well, yeah, the next problem would be to upload the new tagged version to our chef server. But I guess that should be part of another session, because I won't be able to finish this in the remaining 20 or so minutes. Instead, I'll just stay a bit and chat with you, I guess. So, I can just edit the post commit hook file in the Git subdirectory for every Git project we have. Yep, that uses FTP or SFTP. Run the npm script I need to run. Checks with Git to see which files it needs to upload. Yep, Git ls something. No. Oh yeah, it's one of the more obscure commands, I guess. It's not. Yeah, ls files. Information about files and index and working directory. That will give you a list of changed files in a commit. So, Nar, I'm beginner in programming, but I'm confused. How can I learn a language like JavaScript? By practicing, but how to increase skills? Well, yeah, you basically answered the question yourself by practicing it. And Slayer is a good example here. Just pick something that you'd like to build. Maybe don't pick something too ambitious for the start, but pick something that will give you a feeling of success, basically, and go for it. Especially with JavaScript, if you do it some kind of web-based thing, you'll also get instant gratification, because you'll see in your browser how things are working or not. And that's a great thing, to be honest, to see the results of your work right away. Yeah, just pick something and get started. And yeah, there are plenty of resources out there on the web on JavaScript, from entry-level stuff up to professional JavaScript frameworks like Vue or other things. And so from what I see at the moment is that JavaScript is a good pick for a programming language, because not only is it prevalent on the web. It's also going into other areas. For example, there are actual Mac desktop applications that start using JavaScript for internal automation. So the things that Lua was built quite a while ago to basically be able to script, wasn't it games like Doom or something? Now JavaScript is the language that companies and people pick for applications that are written in other languages. Like, for example, for the Mac, they're probably written in Objective-C or what's the new one? I'm blanking on it. Anyway, yeah. There are even hybrid app frameworks built in JavaScript that let you write mobile apps. Yeah, right. There are these cross-platform libraries or frameworks that allow you to build a JavaScript application that will then be cross-compiled, so they run on Android or iOS-based machines. Can I learn PHP, jQuery, MySQL is possible a lot of the time? Ionic, yeah, Ionic is the one I heard about. Well, you can, of course, learn all the components that you'll need to build web applications. So PHP is not the worst, but also not the best of language for that. Swift, exactly, yeah. jQuery is just a JavaScript framework, and it's, yeah, if you have some basic JavaScript knowledge, you can use jQuery easily. MySQL is more of an infrastructure thing. I'd say take it one at a time, because you can get a web infrastructure package out of the box to run. So for example, if you're using PHP, something like a LAMP stack based on Linux, Apache, PHP, and MySQL, or there are lots of other pre-built packages out there, and just take them as they are, because each of these components can be years of learning. For example, running MySQL in a high performance environment like my company is probably a whole job description for itself. Yeah, I agree with Slayer. Start off learning the front end, because that will give you this instant gratification. You can see that things are appearing on the screen, and that will give you the motivation to keep doing this. And later you can go as far down the stack as you like, but that will bring you deep into DevOps territory, and yeah, lots of topics waiting there. Golang useful for DevOps, asks EV Jesus. It is. Go is one of the newer languages, and it's built with system programming in mind, and the fact that it always compiles to a binary that you can run without shared libraries and stuff makes deployment of Go applications easy as hell. So yeah, it's no wonder that many current DevOps tools, like for example Vagrant, I think, are written in Go. Hello, Worldwake. Nice to have you on the stream. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. I will So now, right, so I will build a small website where I can use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP MySQL. Yeah, that's far more than enough. Just, I guess, pick one of the many tutorials that are on the web about, say, building a web application with PHP or with JavaScript, and then get your feet wet, and the rest will come. DHack, right, so you can learn enough MySQL to get stuff off the ground, but there's like 99% more to learn after that. Yeah, definitely. But on the other hand, only 1% of people actually need to go that deep into it, and I count myself into these 1%, but yeah, don't let yourself get scared because there are so many things you don't need to know about them very deeply. The ORM, yeah. I'm a bit ambiguous about that. Laravel might be a good idea. Let me think. I'm inclined to say get the basics down first. So get a decent knowledge, in that case, of PHP. So you know what it can do well and can't do well. And I guess on that basis you can really appreciate what a framework like Laravel does for you. But I'm not sure if dealing with, say, MVC or things like that as a first step might be too heavy. And yeah, you suspect that yourself. Well, Greg, that's a very good recommendation to build a walking skeleton. So something that you can see move, but isn't the full-fledged thing. And don't aim at the stars, I guess. Yeah, no problem. That's what we most valuable code. And no, that's yeah. Well, I should use this as a weekly award on our team, the most valuable code. And no, yeah, most valuable chef, of course, would be another interpretation. Actually, it's a model view controller, one of the architectural design patterns for building web applications, with the model as the part where the business logic is, which doesn't care about the web and doesn't care about HTML and things like that. The view is the part that then takes the information from the model and turns it into HTML, adds CSS and all that stuff. And the controller is the part that actually cares about the web. So it takes HTTP requests, sees what models and views it should use to deliver the response, and then so it's basically the dispatcher that takes a HTTP request, runs the right code. This code then again is turned into the actual web content by the view. MVP, okay. Model view presenter. Okay. Sounds like a bit derivative to Model View Controller. I actually haven't heard about Model View Presenter, but I'll have a look at that. Yeah, the heck, MVC used to be confusing to me too. Uh, but yeah, once you wrap your head around it, and once you know where to put things, so I'm obviously referring to fat models, skinny controllers, and things like that. Yeah, it's really great. So I'm the main developer of our hosting dashboard, which is built in Ruby on Rails, and I love the MVC principle. For front-end side, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap is good for... Yeah, it's a good choice. And for backend, PHP, MySQL, API. Well, API is more of a concept than a technology. But apart from that, yeah. Waldweg, you're working with a foobar architecture. Our project process is Snafu, okay. That sounds a bit like DevOps hell. I love Rails. Randomly got into because someone chose it for a uni project and then dove in. Yeah, sometimes you just need to be chucked into the cold water. And yeah, I've been doing Rails for 3 years, 4, I'm not sure now, and I still like it very much. Probably because Ruby is a pretty decent language as well. The stuff that it allows me to do feels very elegant to me. Now you've made me curious, Waldweg. What's so terrible about your environment? Let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. Obviously, I have pushed everything. Well, yeah, I should. No, I think that's even good to merge here. I'm just curious about these version commands. So they actually... Okay, yeah, here. So I see the chef version, cook style version, food critic version. Nice. Yeah. I'm happy that this time I have some finished result to at the end of my session. Yeah. So Waldweg. Oh yeah, DHag. Lots of people hear me say Rails and are all stuck in 2005. Fuck them. I've been using Linux since 1993. Just because there's something newer and more hip and yeah, doesn't mean that it's better. I don't want to dive into Jesus, but let's put it this way. You can't do professional grade software without some level of organization. Oh yeah. No, you can't. And actually, we kind of had some sort of similar situation a year or so ago, where our own organization was so bad that we basically ran in circles all the time. So everyone was busy, and at the end of the day, didn't have anything to show for it. And we made some pretty significant organizational changes in our processes and stuff to make sure that we'd actually deliver something for our customers again. I even did a few blog posts about this on our blog here, blog.freisteel.it. Here, Lean Web Operations, where I describe what problems we had and what we did change to be more productive and to actually ship stuff. Let me read up on the chat quickly. Yeah, things. Great to hear that things can improve. How many people quit before that happened? Fortunately, no one on our team, which is pretty small, did quit. We had a few people that were near breaking point because they worked, and we didn't see any results from that work, or we simply weren't able to finish a feature and ship it to our customers. So the greater risk was losing our customers, because from their perspective we were at a complete standstill. And when I saw that people were at the edge or even over the edge of burnout, I realized, okay, we had to do some pretty significant changes. And fortunately, and I'm happy to say that we were able to turn this ship around and get more productive. To be honest, we are still cleaning up. We had accrued a lot of technical debt over the months and years. And so we are still pretty busy with getting rid of old stuff that isn't supported by the vendor anymore, or old Linux distributions that don't have security updates anymore, and things like that. However, in between, we are already shipping smaller features and improvements for our hosting platform, and I'm pretty optimistic that this year will be a much better year than last year. Slayer writes, but at least with something like Rails, you should be able to find other Rails developers to maintain the project if any of the original devs no longer work on the system. Yeah, that's right. And before that, you'll have plenty of examples and tutorials and YouTube screencasts and stuff of which you can learn. And that's pretty important. So pick one of the more popular programming languages or programming frameworks, and you're good. With something like .NET, though, the number of .NET devs is dwindling. Yeah, I can imagine. On the other hand, if you are one of these devs, you can make a pretty penny from that. There are COBOL programmers. They're probably in their 80s now, but they still have to maintain all these old systems that banks and huge corporations haven't managed to get rid of, and they can probably ask for any kind of hourly rate. Well, Drake, right. So you have a very motivated team because they want to do that work. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really everyone on the team is motivated like hell, and we are having fun doing our work. That's, I guess, the most important thing. And it also was part of the problem that just churning without having a real result to show for it isn't fun. And so now that we are quickly shipping stuff, I think fun is even on a higher level than ever before. All right, people, I see we are nearing the 5 o'clock deadline, and I probably need to get a few other things done, but yeah, Worldwide, this is inspiring. Maybe we can turn our ship around too. Maybe you can, yeah. It depends on a lot of factors, I guess. So I don't know how optimistic you should or can be, but there is definitely a chance to get into a more productive situation, I guess. Yeah, maybe my blog posts even can point you into a few directions. I don't know. All right, people. This was a great session today. We had a great chat, and I was able to actually deliver something that worked pretty much right out of the box. I'll be back next week on Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. So if you haven't yet, please follow my stream so you get a notification when I'm back. And yeah, until then, cheers.